Welcome back everyone to another study time with KP. I'm KP and this is the actual last session for this kind of practice before our exam on Friday. Wrapping up some spreadsheet practice today, so let's make it count. So this one, we're seeing a price list and items purchased. And we capturing the cost, the sales tax totals. All right, so let's look at the question. What formatting feature is used in row 3? What formatting feature is used in row 3? So we look for row 3. This is row 3. And we look here. What formatting feature is here? So we notice you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. And we're not seeing any lines here. So we'd say formatting features used here is are what? Merge. So you see the cells are merged. You also notice that the label here is centered and it's bold. So I would put merge and center and also bold. That would be the formatting feature that is used in row 3. The value in cell B30. The value in cell B30 should be formatted as percentage. How does it appear in the cell? So we're looking at the value B and we're going to row 30. So B is here, B is this column, and this is the cell that we're talking about. It should be formatted as a percentage. How does it appear in the cell? So when we format it as percentage, we're going to expect it to look like 13%. That's decimal, and that would be 13%. Okay, let's continue. What type of chart would be used to compare? Look at those words. What type of chart would be used to compare the item and the cost per item? Right, the items. So we look, compare is a hint there. What chart would do a good job of comparing the items and the cost per item, right? Which one would be used to compare? So usually when you're comparing each to the whole, you know, like all of this make up the whole, and you want to know what portion each of these items make up, contribute to the whole, right? So that, to me, that sounds like a pie chart. A pie chart, right? A pie chart would be a perfect chart to show you what each slice of the pie contribute to the whole. Each piece would make up the whole, right? Formula, function to calculate the cost per item. A formula or function to calculate the cost per item. So we go back up. Where is the cost per item? And we want a formula here. What is the formula that we would use to calculate cost per item? So just basic math would multiply the price per item by the numbers sold, right? So that would be what? That would be, we're looking at G, so we would say G5, so this row is 5, we would say E5 times F5 would give us cost per item. So don't forget our equal sign. So E5 times F5 would give us cost per item. Next question. Formula or function to calculate the sales tax per item. What formula or function would use to calculate the sales tax per item. So let's look back up. Sales tax per item would be in H, and we want to know what formula function we use to calculate here. So sales tax is usually on the cost of their item. So we would now need to multiply the cost per item by a rate, right? What is the tax? So we look good at the sheet and we see that sales tax is here in B30, right? So we now need to find the sales tax. We'll have to get the cost per item times the sales tax. So that is going to be G5, right? G5, we're in the 5th row and the G column. So it's going to be G5, right? G5, let's write that, equal to G5 times B30. Now, I would add something else to that, because if I was actually in Spreadsheet, right, and I want to copy down this formula, there's something special I would add to it to make sure it's complete. I would set the use absolute referencing for the sales tax, because that value, when I copy the value down to the other cells, when I copy the value down to all of these other cells, I do not want the rate, the reference to the rate, which is here, to change. So what I do is I put $sign in front of the column and $sign in front of the row to make this absolute. So this is the formula, G5 times B30, but we're also making the rate absolute, using absolute reference. Next question. Write a lookup function. Now, lookup. Remember what lookup function does, right? In the lookup function, right, we are going to, so all of these things you have to just remember. Remember the parameters that you pass to the function, right? So you know when you're using it in the exam, you know what values you're looking for to substitute. So when we're using a lookup function, we need what? What do we need? We need a code which tells us, you need a code which tells you which value you're looking for, right? The value that you're looking for. What else do you need? After the code, we need the range, right? The range. Where are you going to look for the value? Where are you going to look for them? So usually is a range of the cells, right? And you also need the column that you're going to look for the value that you want to put in the cell. So you need the code, which is the item that you're looking for. The range is where you're going to look for it. And the column is where you're going to pick up the value that you want to put in the cell. Right? Let me fix this a little better so you can see. So equal to VLOOKUP. So it's good to remember the formulas, you know, so that you can use them in the exam. So knowing that now, let us look for the values. So we're going to use our VLOOKUP. So we have equal VLOOKUP. Don't forget your equal sign. And what are we looking for? We want to list the price per item in column E. So in column E, here is where we'll be using the lookup function. So what would we put in? So we're going to look up pi, right? And pi is in D5, right? Pi is in D5. So we're looking up pi. And where are we going to look for pi? We're going to look for pi. We're going to look for pi in the price list, right? This is the price list, and the price list goes from where? From This is the price list. We're looking for pi in the price list, right? And the price list is going to go from 5, from row 5 to row 28. So we're going from A5 to B28. So you see that? We're looking for the price list in these two columns, A and B. We'll start from A5 to B28. So that would be our range. So the value we're looking for D5, and that's pi. And once we look for D5, now we're going to look for the value in, let me check it back. We're going from A, so we're going from, so we don't need the headings. We're going to go from A6 to B28. So we're going to go from A6 to B28. Not sure why it's not keeping the value here. So we're looking for D5. So that's the column that we're looking for, D5. And we're looking in the range A6 to B28. What else? What next do we need? We need to know which column we are checking. Which column do we want the value from? So we want the price, right? So we will look at the second column. So there are two columns in the listing, one and 2, right? But we want the value that is in the price column, which would be column 2. So we put that in 2, right? Now, there's one more thing that we must have. If you're going to copy down this formula, we need to make sure something in this value does not change, right? The reference in this value is not changing. And the range will never change if we copy this formula, because we're looking for the price in one area, one range of the price list. So to make this absolute reference, we make sure we add our dollar signs. Dollar sign in front of the column, dollar sign in front of the row. And that would make that function complete. So that's our VLOOKUP function. Next question, sort the sales for the month by the column number sold in descending order. Identify the item that would be in the third position from the top. So we're going to sort, and we're going to sort on the column called number sold. Remember, when sorting, we need to know what we're sorting on, sorting by, and in what order. So it says that we're sorting by the number sold, and the order would be in descending order, right? Identify the item that is in the third position. So when we're sorting in descending order and we're sorting numbers, we're going to go from largest to smallest, right? So we're looking for the column number sold, right? That's it here. And we're going to sort from largest to smallest. So largest number here is this one, and this one, and this one, right? I'm going so far. Actually, the largest number is 2,665. After 2,600, then it goes 1,888, and 3, this one, 4, the 14, where we're going next, we go 512, we go 500, 322, 250, then 9, then 36. So let's double check to make sure we sorted correctly. We're going in descending order, largest to smallest. So largest number is 2665, then 1,888, 1,566, 1,499, 5th goes 512, 6, 500, 7, 322, 8, 250, and 936. All right. So what is the question asking us? We sorted. After we sorted, what would be in the third position? Third position from the top. So the third one from the top would be 1566, which is the pi. So this didn't state it, so we'll say pi would be in the third position, right? Which would have value of 1566. All right. Write the function you would use to calculate the total in cell I-15. I'm going to 15. Where's 15? 15 is here and I is here. So what function would you use to calculate? What function would you use to calculate the total? So total again, we use the sum function. So we'll use sum and we will sum from I5 and we'll stop at I13. So our function would be sum equals sum I5 to I13. The formula to calculate sales tax per item is G5 times B30. What type of cell reference is used and what is special about using this type of reference? So we spoke about it already, right? We look and we see that it's using absolute cell reference, right? So what is special about absolute cell reference? We know that once we copy this formula and paste it in any cell, the value B30 will never change. It will always remain the same. And that's what we want, right? So we're using, the answer would be, we're using absolute cell referencing, right? And what is special about it is that if the formula is copied, the formula is copied to any cell, the value with a dollar sign, right? The value, let's say the value will never change. And that is what we want, right? It remains the same, it won't change, so we'll do accurate calculation. Write the function you would use to calculate average price per item. So we're looking at average price per item, where price list is here. And if we wanted to find the average price per item, what would we do? We would have to take a sum of all of these prices, right? Average again is sum divided by the number. But in spreadsheet, we actually have a function that can do that for us. So we're going to use that function called average. So we'll go from B6 to B28, which is pretty simpler than you writing out the average of adding and dividing. So we use equal to average B6 to B28. And that should give us the average price. Write the function to find the maximum price per item from the price list. And again, we have a maximum function, right? So let's use it, a max function. So it goes max, and we're using the same range because we're finding the maximum price per price list. So the range would still be B6 to B28. And that should give us the maximum price per item from the price list. Following so far, right? We're almost there, almost there, almost there, right? We have just a couple more questions left. Now we want to find, if you copy the formula in cell G5 over G6 to G13. So let's look. G5 would be where? G5 would be here, right? If you copy the formula, so let's say we're copying the formula, we go to the plus sign here, the plus sign that would be here. And we're going to copy the formula to where? To G over G6 to 13. So we're going to copy the formula, G6. We're going to bring it down to G13, right? We stop there. What is G13? We know G13 here is G6 to G13 is a range. So G6 to G13, all right, is a range, right? That's the first part of the question. And what else? And what would be the formula in G12? So we want to know what formula would be here, right? What would be the formula in this? Sorry. What would be the formula in G12? For G12 is here. So in this column, we're calculating cost per item. And remember, cost per item was what? Was E times F, right? So if we're in G12, it would be what? E would be this cell times this cell to give us the value in cost per item. So we would have E12 times F12. So the answer here would be equal to E12 times F12. Not too bad, right? Not too bad. I hope we're following. Just 3 more questions to go, and then we're done. Two formula could be used could be inserted in H15 to give the results. What are they? H15. Remember, we have to keep going back to the grid. You know, it's spreadsheets. So we need to find H15. Where is H15? And we're looking for H15, right? H, and we're going to 15. Where is H15? So H15 would be in this cell, right? And the question asks us what? Two formula could be inserted in H15 to give the result. What are they? So what are the two formulas we could write in cell H15? So we notice that H15 would be a total, right? What would you be adding? We'll be naturally adding all of the sales tax, right? So we'll be adding what is in sales tax, and sales tax goes from H5. So we'll go from H5 to H13, right? So we're adding H5 to H13. So one way to do that, we could use the sum function. So we're going from H5 to H13. And what's the other way we could do this, right? If we didn't use the sum function, we could do the manual, we could do the long way, which is to add each cell. H5 plus H6 plus H7 plus H8, all of that would still give us the same answer, right? So we'll be adding H6, H5 plus H6 plus all of the columns up to H13, right? So those are the two formulas we could possibly add to give us the result in H15. Last two questions. Which of the columns should have their numbers formatted as currency? Which of the columns should have their numbers formatted as currency? So let's look back at the grid. So we're formatting as currency. So we look at price. So look at B, price, ask for columns. So price would be currency. What else would be currency? Price per item would be currency. Number sold, no. Cost per item, sales tax, and total. So that would be B, E, G, H, I. And those would be the columns that I would format as currency. So it would be B, E, G, H, and I. All right. Last question. Last question for this. Last one. So let's see if we understand what is going on. A discount column is inserted between column G and H. Break up your question when you're reading it. Make sure you understand. A discount column is inserted between column G and H. What would be the formula used in H5 when a 20% discount on cost per item is only given if we say the word if, the number sold is over 1,000. So we're going to first insert a column between G and H. So if we were to insert a column here between G and H, right? So that column would now turn into H. Realize that because H would be pushed over and the column will now become, the new column would be H. H will turn into I and I turn into J, right? When we insert the column. So we insert a column there to give what would be the formula used in H5. H5. So what would be the formula used in H5? Right? Right? So H insert turns into a new column. Right? What would be the formula used in H5 when a 20% discount on cost per item is only given if the number sold is over 1,000? So we know we're doing an if, right? So if, where is cost per item? Cost per item is in G5, right? So cost per item would be in G5. Cost per item is in G5. So we said that we want to know if the number sold. So where the condition would be number sold. So we want to check if the number sold, which is in F. So F5, we're looking at that row 5. So all our numbers are going to be 5. Just the letters will be different. So just to make things a little bit clearer, number sold is in which column? Number sold is in column F. So this is column F. Cost per item is in which column? Cost per item is in G. And do I need any other column? And we know we put in the values in H5. We're writing the formula in H5. So we're looking at row 5, right? So all our references right here would be in 5. So we're saying if, so equal if, bracket, if the number sold is over 1,000. So F5, so if F5 is greater than 1,000, right? What are we going to do? We're going to find 20% of what? The cost. So the cost is in G. So we find 20% of G5. We'll give G5 a 20% discount. Otherwise, no discount. All right? That's it. If the number sold is over 1,000, then we give a 20% discount on your cost per item. That's the formula. That's it, guys. That's it. That's it. The last question, last practice question for this section. I hope you guys learned something. You were able to practice various areas in Spreadsheet. And remember, you can just go back to the video, play as many times as you need, right? Any questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll answer as best as I can. Tomorrow, I know you'll do your very best. And that's it for another study session with KP. Bye.